Hi, it's me, Termo, Motivation and Beard. Welcome to this new video. It's been a tough few weeks. I'm going through several classes trying to find a new career. So recording, organizing myself to do those extra recordings and editing everything gets more and more complicated. But continuing to get questions, continuing to be able to help all the people who actually are contacting me gives me the energy to keep going. I'm happy with the results we're getting. The possibilities, the perspectives are definitely expanding, and this is also definitely thanks to you. So I want to take a moment to thank you and invite you, as always, to comment, to leave your thoughts, or ask questions if there are any, because I'm more than happy to answer them. The proper thanks have been given. Now, let's get started with today's video. We left off last time with the insertion of the nail, and that semblance of normalcy that has been bestowed upon me, thanks to this new tool that had been inserted into my leg. However, I was immediately aware that I was walking on the outside of my foot, and that this would certainly not have led to anything good. Instead, I want to start this video with a little anecdote, something that happened a few months later. Around the Christmas period, me and my family often, if not always, travel to visit my relatives because they live in Lazio. But that year I decided to do it a few months earlier because I arrived at the beginning of November, so I could spend a long time with my grandparents. A little earlier, they had bought an armchair, the kind with the vibration that also gives massages. And so I decided to start doing it, at least half an hour a day, to try in some way to see if this could stimulate my leg. Since there were no answers, the doctor had warned me well that they had not had any way in saving my life and attaching my leg to also make the connection of nerves, and then this obviously led to a complete immobility of my ankle and consequentially of my foot. An ankle that was already stuck itself without a nerve response was completely still. So I started, at least a half hour a day, doing these massages with vibration. It relaxed me, or at least I had this aspect, this relaxation that came from these massages. One day, however, after the umpteenth massage, when I was about to get back on my feet, I tried to move my finger and I saw that my big toe was moving. I was taken aback, because I absolutely never expected that an armchair, or at least the massage, the vibration could reactive this nervous system. And we still don't even know if it was that, but the randomness, the concurrence, maybe the chair itself, I don't know. Something wanted this to happen, with the complete amazement of all the doctors who later visited me, because no one could explain this event. Close this small parenthesis, this anecdote that certainly given a little help to my situation, because this slight movement, which slowly I have regained more and more with its limitations, has given me the opportunity to drive the car with the manual transmissions that would have been remained impossible for me otherwise. Although it gave me the possibility to do many things, unfortunately it brought me a lot of pain too. I tried to live a serene life, a normal life, even if, as you can imagine, it was almost impossible. Unfortunately, the skin was very delicate, and I trained for years, went to the gym, even started to develop new muscle bands inside the leg, as you see in the image. But I will also show you more in a video that will be inserted shortly. This was the cause of multiple complications for me, because obviously the skin being so delicate, all it took was a little bump to be locked to a bed. Even the slight rubbing of the pants on my sweaty skin was enough to cause a serious injury. The condition was anything but normal. There was, as I said at the beginning, only a resemblance of normality. Surely the pounds taken in that period did not help, but this did not change the fact that I had the foot that tended completely outward. And the thing was witnessed by even the soles of my shoes. The moment I would buy a pair of new shoes, the sole was outside completely worn and inside practically new. I was forced over the years to make the shoes tailored, shoes that ranged from about 500 euros per pair, because obviously I could not have normal shoes. In some of them, the more classic ones, the more gymnastic ones, we can say that they were able to adapt better and I could insert soles in, but even there the thing was very limited. I could only have certain types of shoes that were very tall around the ankle, which allowed the sole that had to go not only operate a wrong position of the foot, but also to operate the lack of length of the leg because I was missing almost 2 centimeters. Anyway, having done this operation, putting myself back in the game, I began to embark on a spiritual path. I needed, or for better saying, I felt the need to have a much stronger relationship with God than I'd have had before. The relationship I had was based on more culture than personal need. I won't go into details of my religion now because this is not the place nor what this video is about. Yet, it's an important phase, so it's noteworthy at this time and you'll understand shortly why. I embarked on this path. I put myself, heart and soul to studying, learning, to searching for witness, for personal truth that eventually came. Slowly, they led me to the decision to embark on a religious mission. I really wanted to go and serve and be able to help others. The mission in our church gives the possibility to travel all over the world. And so, consequently, I was preparing myself to do that, with vaccines rather than tests, to see if I was more or less susceptible to certain types of diseases around the world. I tried to prepare myself medically so that I could be sent anywhere. After I sent the request to the presidency of my church in the United States, with all the medical documentation attached, that obviously pertained to my health status, I was answered in a letter that my desire to serve was truly appreciated, but that given my physical condition, I was advised against serving a full-time mission because it would involve walking frequently throughout the day. It was something that would most likely be precluded from me because I was really struggling with it. So I asked anyway if there was any alternative. After months of waiting, I was informed that there was indeed a possibility and that was to go to Switzerland to serve. Because in Switzerland, there was a temple that is historical at the European level for our church. But it was also one of the closest to Italy, so it was more feasible for me to get and live there, because I was all in all relatively close to Italy, with the possibility, in case of problems, to go back and get treated. Once I decided that this was doable, that I could actually serve this mission, I packed up and went to Switzerland. In my first period, I was on my own. I lived in a sort of small hostel where other people were doing the same thing I was doing. But they were couples. They were people between 60 and 80 years old who, as a couple, husband and wife, served inside the temple. One evening, while I was getting settled and organizing the room, I tripped on the carpet with my slipper and hit my left foot hard. I felt a sharp pain. It was really very sharp and I immediately fell to the floor. As soon as I lifted my foot, the pain was subsided and I tried to get up again. But as soon as I tried to put my foot on the floor again, a sharp pain hit me and I instantly lay down in my bed. I immediately called for help. They took me to the nearest hospital, which was located in Bern, where doctors examined me and told me that there was no fracture but only a strong inflammation, and that it was plausible because I had all the load of my body on each step on the outside of the foot. So it could be medically logical at this point that it was an inflammation and that it was very strong. So they gave me some kind of cast. It wasn't a real cast, but a very tight and rigid bandage. They told me that I had to rest for about a month, and despite the amount of rest, the ointments, the therapies, I still had a lot of pain, but all in all, it was sustainable. So I finished the mission and came home. I left about 2014, in the middle of 2014, and returned in December 2015. So basically almost in 2016. Right after, I started to feel the same little aches and pains that I had at the end of the treatments. I was simply thinking about a humidity issue. I used to be near mountains, a drier climate. Now I was more on the sea, so maybe it was a more of a humidity thing, something like that. Until I actually had another really bad pain that convinced me to do some tests. I immediately had an X-rays and CT scans, and it turned out that I had a fracture. Fracture called a Jones fracture. On average, it affects basketball players because they often do this clutching, this pushing on the toes. It coincided with the point where I was injured in Switzerland. So this made the doctors who were following me now that I was back in Italy, and they were the same ones who had been following me since the accident, think that this could simply be the same fracture. And maybe what happened in Switzerland was simply a compound fracture which had not been noticed because it was compound indeed, and therefore had not given any kind of sign that could suggest this. The problem, however, was that now, regardless of whether it was resulting from a fracture or whether it is something new, needed to be fixed. In late January 2016, I was admitted for yet another operation, where they put 2 nails that were used to hold the bones together that had broken. This definitely contributed a lot to my discomfort with the condition I was in, and I was slowly starting to move towards other horizons than keeping my leg with me. In spite of everything, the doctor who was following me, with whom I was going to Reggio Emilia, kept saying how well the bone was actually doing. The reality, however, was that yes, the bone, the tibia, was fine, but the rest was not. First of all, I was not well. I was not well in that condition. The leg had some moments of recovery, but it also had many points of blockage. Yes, I was able to do a lot of things, yet I kept having complications from time to time, and it was proof of that. After surgery, it wasn't a walk in the park. I, however, had resumed my courses of study that had been interrupted because of the accident. I suddenly found myself having to walk 2 floors of stairs at home and 2 floors of stairs at school in order to attend a class, as unfortunately there were no elevators or other equipment that would get me to the class. This began to be a concern for me because every few I had complications that would lead me back to either crutches or wheelchair or otherwise being stuck in the house. This led me to do a lot of thinking over the next few months. Anyway, it was a pretty quick recovery. I had physical therapy and started walking on the outside of my foot with all the pain that obviously brought. Almost at the end of my studies, when I was nearing my final exams, I found myself doing extra work for a club where I occasionally worked and had worked for last few years. As I told you at the beginning of the video, all it took was a simple rub of my pants on my sweaty skin to open a wound. The next day, the wound was completely infected. Once the graduation exams were over, I had some checks done, and these checks could only underline yet another infection, which I could not understand where it had come from. But there it was, and for the umpteenth time, I was bound to a bed, once again, unable to live. We have come to the end of this video. I don't know if fortunately or unfortunately I have lived through all these episodes, this whole series of unfortunate events. I say fortunately or unfortunately because it certainly hadn't been a walk in the park for me, but now I relate to all the people who contact me. This historical record of mine, so detailed, so full of events, gives me a hand to empathize and make people who interface with me understand that I can feel them in some way. Precisely because I too, in one way or another, maybe in a small part or in a bigger, I was able to live the same thing that they live now. From a certain point of view, I'm also grateful for what happened to me, because now that I am the person who is trying to help others, I'm able to do it in a more complete way. Because I have been in their shoes, their pains, I've felt those things too, and I know what it's like to come out of it. And that's why I try to send that message through these videos. If you liked the video, as always, I invite you to like and comment. If you want to give advice, if you have any questions, don't be shy, write it down and I, either via video or via chat, will answer you. If you're still not subscribed to my channel, I suggest you to do so now by clicking on the subscribe button. turning on notifications via the bell so that you no longer miss any of my content. It's been great to be here with you again today, and with that said, all that is left to say is goodbye. See you in the next video.
This party's out of control.